So if you want to be your own niche, or you want a brand that you can turn into anything you want, something we're going to use in this course just to try certain things out so you'll see what you like, this is how I suggest you do it. I have a lot of experience with this going back many, many years. I have a lot of websites. I'm always thinking of new brands, new names. For this course, we're going to focus on a brand that could start out as one thing and end up something else. Really a no niche brand, a brand where you are your niche. Something you could use this year and 20 years from now. I'm going to talk to you about getting your own website, but if you don't want to actually register a .com or anything, you don't have to, but I'm going to talk about that. The main reason you want a website is for discoverability by Google and other search engines, so they can easily find it. So if your social media gets deleted, something happens, or if there's word of mouth recommendations, maybe someone found you on a social media platform and they're talking to their friend about it, which you cannot underestimate the power of this. You don't ever want your social media platform to be the only place they can find you. Number one, it could go away at any time. You have no control over that. You're limiting yourself to just that platform if you don't have a website, or just some kind of link that they can go to. A website, though, is your permanent home online, as long as you keep renewing that website. I've been seeing a lot of people lately say that you don't even need a website anymore, that they're obsolete. I will always disagree with that. I've got more experience than some of the people saying that. I mean, I can kind of see where they're coming from. If you don't have a website, it's too easy for people to take your search engine rankings. What a lot of people do is they'll look for popular people on social media and then register that website to go with that name. And it's kind of a crappy thing to do, but it happens. And that's not the only reason. It's just a way of owning your brand. Even if it never becomes some big brand, even if it's just for test purposes here, it's too easy to have everything stolen from you if you don't have a website. Websites give you ownership, the kind of permanence you're not going to get with something like Linktree, although that's fine. If you use TikTok or other social media platforms, you'll see Linktree and other places that are very popular that show where people can find you online, but a website can do the same thing. I know of a service that's free. You can upgrade if you want to, but you can use it completely free, and it can do the same thing as Linktree. It might take a little more work to get it set up on the front end, but it really isn't that big of a deal. Now, when it comes to naming your website, even if you don't use an actual website, again, even if it's just, what name are you going to use on TikTok or YouTube? Number one, try to keep it as short as possible, meaning no more than 3 or 4 syllables. Now, you're watching me on a channel called Passive Income Truly. Passive Income Truly. That's 6 syllables. There are exceptions. Most of my brands are not that long. The ones that are, there are exceptions because it fits that brand. It depends. You might not be able to find anything you like with 3 or 4 syllables. That's fine. I registered this because I knew I wanted something with passive income as my keywords, because I knew the niche that I wanted for this. I have other online brands and websites. When I went to the place where I register websites, which you'll find below, that's the place I suggest. I've been using them for years. I started typing in passive income with a name beside it, with a .com, and you want to try to get a .com if possible. Carry a lot more weight with the search engines and just be a lot more permanent than any .net or .tv or anything. Everything was taken with passive income. It was more important for me to have passive income as my keywords than to stick with my 3 or 4 syllable rule. Almost everything was taken. Passive income, everything was taken. So I just kept trying till I found one I liked that made sense for what I wanted to do here. And I knew I wanted to teach people how to be true to themselves when making passive income. I tried other synonyms as well for truly. And important to remember, even if the .com isn't taken, you still want to Google the name and see who else has it, because they might already have the search engine rankings for that name. So just Google it first, or they might have a trademark for it that you don't realize, even if they don't have the .com registered. It can happen. But probably the most important thing, beyond trying to keep it short and simple, honestly, word of mouth recommendations are huge. Or even if it's not word of mouth, even if someone sees you once and tries to find you again, if you have a weird spelling or something that's hard for them to remember, they might not be able to find you again, or they might find someone else. You want to try to avoid deliberate misspellings. A lot of people want to do stuff like girls with a Z on the end of it, rules with a Z on the end of it, 7S. Don't do that if you can help it. There might be exceptions. The big exception I can always think of is the Stars Network, STARZ. But I guarantee someone who works there is probably they probably get tired of explaining I'm sorry, but there are a lot of less than smart people in this world who are still going to look for the Stars Network, STARS. You'd be surprised. If you've never interacted publicly with people, you'd be surprised how many people are out there like this. This day and age, most people have probably heard of the Stars Network. And that's just one example of a company that can get away with it because they've been around so long, because they have that name recognition. You don't have that yet. Don't do something like Southern Girls with a Z on the end of it. Also, homonyms and homophones. By that I mean words that sound alike and are spelled differently. Maybe your name is Rain, R-A-Y-N-E. You're probably constantly correcting people. RAIN. A good way to test your name is to tell it to someone and see what they say back to you, because you just want to make it as simple for people to find as possible. And if you do decide to go with a deliberate misspelling or a homonym, homophone, that can happen. If you just come up with the best name ever, you're like, oh, I gotta have that name. You might have to register 2 .coms so people can type in the misspelling as well. But you can set both of them to go to your website, or as many as you want. There are times I've registered 4 different websites. You've probably in the past, like you've gone certain places where you type in one thing in the .com and it automatically redirects someplace else. It's very easy to do that. If you don't have a name picked out, these are my suggestions. If you want to use your first name, go ahead. Like Liz Jones isn't my name, but it's a little too common. Also, there's a popular Liz Jones in the UK. Honestly, I didn't Google this name before I started using it, but I'm okay with there being another Liz Jones. It's really okay with me. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but for you, you can either use your real first name, but then use a fake last name, something really short, or just one letter, like use my name as an example, Liz J. But put the word official or OFC, Liz J online. Use online or does it or tells it. In the next session, I'm going to go over some of the recipes, as I call them, just a short walkthrough on how to get started. If you decide to do a review website, you can always do reviews, recommends, but does it, tells it, or put a the at the beginning of it. Make sure to Google it to make sure nobody else has it. But look around at some of the people who you follow. How do they name themselves? Did they put a word at the end that maybe I haven't thought of? You can use the word explains, or even the word life, or just certain words that are just kind of basic. And also one that I really like, even if it puts you over 3 or 4 syllables, I like channel or network, because if you end up doing a podcast, for example, Apple lets you do an umbrella brand. Like I have Liz Jones Network. And then under that, I can publish different podcasts. But I kind of like network or channel because then it kind of gives off the impression that you are going to be more than one thing, like a TV network that has different programs. Another one you can use is program. There are just a lot of different words you can use. Just something basic, the 3 or 4 syllable thing, like that more applies to just the Liz Jones part of it. You can use something like online, does it, tells you, says, but make sure to do SAYS. Don't do SEZ. Anyway, it's more the overall brand itself, like Liz Jones being 2 syllables. Maybe use your real first name if you want to, but a fake last name or just a letter. Anyway, in the next session, I'm going to start going into the more recipes, how-tos. I hope this was helpful.